Alright, today we're going to start with a little bit of a review. We're going to look at this guy right here, graph y equals 3x minus 6. We talked about yesterday that this number described the steepness. Steepness is another word for slope, so I know my slope is 3 over 1. And this number shifted the graph up or down. In this case, since it's negative, it shifted it down 6. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 6. So I start at 0, negative 6. And because my slope is 3 over 1, I go up 3, forward 1, up 3, forward 1. I do that a few more times, but I can also go down 3, backwards 1. Okay? And then I draw a line between those points. So that's a little bit of a review of slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Some graphs don't look exactly like that. They're just y equals a number or x equals a number. Well, if y equals negative 6, put a dot on the y-axis at negative 6. Now, my y has to stay negative 6, so my height, y, has to stay negative 6. That means I can't go up, because if I go up, my y changed to negative 5. So that means I need to go straight across. And straight across. And that's how you graph that line. It didn't have an x, so it didn't cross the x-axis. So here I have x equals 3. So we're going to start by putting a dot on the x-axis at 3. And the x has to stay equal to 3. If I move right, my x changed. If I move up, my x stays at 3. So I'm going to go up and then down. Ooh, not very straight, is it? Okay, so that's how you can graph what we call horizontal and vertical lines. This is a horizontal line because it goes left and right. And this is a vertical line because it goes up and down. And notice for these two lines, this only had a y, this only had an x, so they were horizontal and vertical. If the line is slanted, it's got to have a y and an x. Our next problem asks us to change into slope-intercept form. Change into slope-intercept form so that we can graph it. Okay, slope-intercept form we already talked about looks like y equals mx plus b. Another way to say that is we have to get y by itself. So that y has to get all alone. You'll also see directions that say change into function form. Function form is the same thing as slope-intercept form. So if you see those directions, they mean the same thing. So over here, we're trying to get y by itself. So this actually goes back to our Unit 1 material. How do you get y by itself? Let's get rid of the negative 2x. You get rid of negative 2x by adding 2x to both sides. So 3y comes down, negative 2x plus 2x cancels, equals, and then I can write, I can't combine these because this is a number and this is an x. But what I can do is say, this is 9 plus 2x, or 2x plus 9. I like to write the x first because y equals mx plus b comes first. Now I have to say, okay, how do I get rid of this 3 times y? Well, what gets rid of multiplication is division. But when we divide, we have to divide everything by 3. So 3y divided by 3 is y. 2 divided by 3, that's just a fraction. Don't type in your calculator and get a decimal, just reduce it. If you try to reduce 2 and 3, you don't reduce at all. So you keep it as 2/3 x. Now I got plus 9 divided by 3. Type that in your calculator and you get plus 3. So what we just did is we just changed the equation from this form into y equals mx plus b. And now I can graph it. So I'm going to come over here, get my graph paper, and I'm going to graph it. Remember, this number is my slope. That's my steepness. This number tells me it got shifted up 3. So the y-intercept is at 0, 3. So I start at 0, 3. And then I go up 2, forward 3. Up 2, forward 3. And then I go down to backwards 3, down to backwards 3. And then you draw a line through those points. Make sure your line has arrows, make sure it fills the entire graph. This guy was hard to graph. This guy is a lot easier. Alright, let's look at our next one. We've got y equals, or no, here, same thing. Change into slope-intercept form or function form, and then graph it. Alright, so we got negative 4y plus x equals negative 8. Again, slope-intercept form or function form is y equals mx plus b, or y is by itself. Okay, think about it either two ways. So I have to get this y by itself. To do that, I want to get rid of that plus x. How do I get rid of a plus x? And minus x on both sides. Okay, so now bring down the negative 4y. Positive x minus x, 0. Negative 8 minus x, I can't combine those, but I can write them with the x first, and then the minus 8. How do I get rid of negative 4 times y? Divide by negative 4, but I have to divide everything by negative 4. Negative 4y divided by negative 4, that's just y. Now here's where it gets tricky. Some people don't see a number here and that bothers them. If you don't see a number being multiplied by x, you can write it as a minus 1x, or negative 1x divided by negative 4. Again, negative divided by a negative is a positive, and I don't want the decimal, I want the fraction. They don't reduce, so it's just positive 1/4 x. And then negative 8 divided by negative 4 is a positive 2. This is slope-intercept form. That's really helpful because this number is my slope, and this number tells me if I shifted up or down. I shifted up 2, so the y-intercept is 0, 2. So we start at 0, 2, and then my rise is 1, and my run is 4. So I go up 1, forward 4, up 1, forward 4. I can go downwards, backwards 4, down 1, backwards 4, and then I can draw a nice straight line through those guys, and then make sure you fill the graph and you use arrows. Hopefully you're getting the hang of it. Let's do one that doesn't look quite like this, but still has the same idea in mind. Again, we're changing into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, or we're getting y by itself. Okay, all the same directions. Now here, I'm trying to get that y all by itself. What I notice on the right is I have a negative 3 in front of the parentheses, so we like to distribute to get rid of those parentheses. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 is minus 6. Now here's my y, I gotta get it by itself, so what do I need to remove? I need to remove the negative 5. How do I get rid of a negative 5? I add 5. Do I add to x or do I add to the negative 6? Just the negative 6. So I get y equals negative 3x. That wasn't very clear. Make sure your handwriting is good. Negative 3x. Negative 6 plus 5 is a minus 1. So now we're in slope-intercept form. So that's my slope. I don't see it as a fraction, so I'm going to write it as a fraction. Negative 3 over 1. And this whole thing is my y-intercept, because it told me how far to shift down. I went down 1, so my y-intercept is at 0, negative 1. So I start there, and then I'm going to run down 3, forward 1. Down 3, forward 1. Down 3, forward 1. And then I can go up 3, backwards 1. Always go forwards first, then backwards. Up 3, backwards 1. And that's pretty good. You can use your line tool or draw a line. You can use a straight edge or anything like that. You can use it. And so I graphed it. This was hard to graph. This was easier to graph. Whenever you see an equation that's not in y equals mx plus b form, get it into y equals mx plus b form. Finally, you try. I'm going to give you time. I'm going to pause the video, or I'm going to let you pause the video. I'm going to let you try to do each one, and then graph it on your paper, and then I'll show you the answers. All right, so here are your slope-intercept forms from example 1 and example 2. You can see the graph in blue and in green over here. And then the red one, because it's y equals, I cross the y-axis at negative 3, and then I go left and right.